It's almost 40 years since I first visited the United States. I travelled to California on business in the summer of 1988. I then went back in the winter of the following year with my then girlfriend, now my wife, spending a truly memorable Christmas in New Orleans and New Year in Memphis. In the 37 years since, I've visited the US maybe 25 times for both business and pleasure. It's always been my favourite overseas destination. Now, I wrote this in an Airbnb in Louisville, Kentucky, where I was attending an exhibition. It was good to be back, but I wasn't sure that it would be. I confess that in the months leading up to this latest trip, my dread, anxiety, and even fear grew. As a Brit, I've watched America seemingly tearing itself apart over the past few years. My TV screen, like yours, I'm sure, has delivered endless divisive soundbites from the incumbent president. Wild-eyed Karens screaming into the faces of those with whom they disagree. Street corners lined with fentanyl users, bent double by their addiction. Before I left, I was warned to get a burner phone or to at least delete my browser history and social media accounts for fear of being turned around at the border or worse, for having looked at something that might be considered anti-Trump. Literally, as I touched down in Kentucky, the Texas National Guard was arriving in Chicago. And yet, all my fears and anxieties were completely unfounded and unnecessary. And I really should have known better. Over the course of my life, I've seen 13 UK Prime Ministers come and go. Some memorable, some less so. But as the political pendulum has swung back and forth, I've remained largely unchanged. My family has remained unchanged. My friends have remained unchanged. The truth is that British politics takes place in a bubble that's primarily of interest to those that dwell within it. But whether we have a Tory government or a Labour government, I'm still me. British people are still just that, British people, for good or for ill. And thankfully, the people of the US are the same. The White House might currently be playing host to the most divisive president in the nation's history. That president might have normalized division and hatred along racial and gender lines, and that president might be actively seeking to turn American citizens against American citizens. But on the ground, those citizens are every bit as warm and welcoming today as they have been across my almost 40 years of visits. Now, admittedly, I did write this while I was in a staunchly blue part of an otherwise red state. Yes, I did see a surprisingly large number of people wearing anti-racism t-shirts. Yes, I did have a drink in a bar that was flying a pride flag both outside and inside. And yes, there was a political sign in the house opposite that read Truth Decay. But I'm not sure that was the only reason for my sense of welcome reassurance. I thought that maybe if I crossed the state line or two, I might spot a MAGA hat or two. I might even run into a Karen in her natural habitat, whatever that is. But over the course of a week, our trip took us to Georgia, Kentucky, Indiana, and Massachusetts, and we saw no such thing. In fact, at the beginning of October 2025, it's America as usual. I ate in a soul food restaurant where mine was one of just a few white faces in the house. The food was incredible, the people even more so. I had coffee with a married couple of Mexican origin who were in town for the same reason as me, the Utility Expo. And I spent the best part of 20 minutes talking about construction work boots with a guy from Canada who now resides in the US. That expression about the US being a melting pot is a cliche, but that doesn't mean it's not true. I left the UK dreading what I might find when I touched down in America. Would the US that I knew and grew to love be recognizable? The answer to that is an unequivocal yes. There's a line in the American national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, that says, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Undoubtedly, the US is currently living in troubling and troubled times. But based on my own first-hand experience, that flag is still there and it's being waved by its people just as proudly as ever.